pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry about the delay. We'll move forward on the meeting. Each of you have a copy of the agenda. Linda informed me about a month ago that we were kind of woefully behind on some meeting minutes. So I took the liberty of going back and looking at the ones that she told me we needed and tried to recreate what I could from those meeting minutes. So a couple of them were for committee meetings, and I believe everyone received a copy of all of them. Are there any? How do I do this? I guess I could go down and say, all right, for the ones that include the finance committee, and there was really just one. How about if I ask you, Tom, if there was any changes or additions or deletions? All right, so I guess it was just you and I guess. Make a motion to approve it. I approve. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so. The next were executive committee. That would be Jim, Andrew, and myself. Did you have a chance to review those at all? One of those was the August 29th executive committee meeting, which was something you did. You had a meeting with, you met with some of the adjacent landowners. So it was you went into executive session right away. So that's essentially what I had for that. And the other executive committee meeting was one that I had conducted with the two of you. So we may have a motion to accept those minutes.
So
Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, so that, and then the last one, and this is again a committee one, is for the planning committee, and it was the meeting that Caitlin, you were unable to attend, and I was kind of leading it along with them. So with the members of the planning committee, any feedback on that at all? That's awesome.
Oh, great.
Right.
There's a little
Thank you, Linda.
Any changes or additions, deletions for the planning minutes? All right. Okay. We second that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And then now we could go just to our normal meeting minutes, which we have August 14th, September 11th, and October 9th. Any additions, changes, deletions that we should review on any of those meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you all. Now we are caught up on meeting minutes. We'll get to our friends at VHB real quickly. I do want to make a couple of, talk about a couple of things on the executive report, and then we can jump right into some of the other issues that we have here, though. The first is I do want to congratulate Tom Savigny for his election now as a selectman in our town. Tom informed us that his role will be changing here, so I believe you'll be submitting a resignation for this board, and then you're going to speak with the selectmen, your fellow selectmen, to talk about being added as the liaison.
It's already been approved.
It's been approved.
I had a meeting with Todd Gilston yesterday, and I'll be the official liaison to this agency, so I'll still be coming to meetings. I just won't be a voting member, basically.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you. And
Do you have a replacement? Do you have somebody in mind that's?
No.
Think of somebody's got.
no. So what happens next is it's a function of the Board of Selectmen, and so there are a couple of candidates that have already been vetted, and then there are probably others that want to look. They're going to have to go through their process, review, interview, and then bring it to town meeting. So we'll have to fill his role. With that said, you also have a copy of, and I tried my best to update it, of the membership list and the assignments.
Yes.
What I want to do on this today, if we can please, is with a new election, it's probably a good idea, and I've learned from Linda that other committees, agencies do this too, is put the slate of leadership into place and do it for a 2-year period. You don't need to do it every year. We did it last year, but maybe, but I don't know that we've said we're doing it for 2 years. So I thought we would just go through the assignments quickly. If everybody still wants to stay in their same role, we'll just remain that, but we're gonna need to replace Tom on the finance committee. So we're gonna need somebody to maybe volunteer if they would to step forward and lead that. And the role of the finance committee is essentially is act as our liaison with Camoin and Associates, act as our liaison with Victoria, who is our grant writer, and then provide regular reports to the board on our finance, basically interacting with Valerie Bells and getting reports.
So finance is three, you, and Jeff? That who's on it now, or that's who we don't know? So it's 3 years, okay.
So Jeff, would you be willing to take on that role as the chair of
Absolutely.
that? Okay, super. Okay, so then,
We have a little problem. You and I are no longer on this committee. Our terms expired.
oh, I didn't update
No,
that.
I saw that.
No, forgive me, I didn't update the list. We were approved and it's not a problem. It was approved. The selectmen brought us forward. I just need to update what our term is. And I think they gave us, I think they gave us 4 years, so I think we're on for a while. I'll make sure I update that.
Prison term. 3 to 5. Tom got paroled.
Okay, then, so understanding the roles that we have, so the committees that we have then, the standing committees are finance, which Jeff is now stepping up to do, environmental, which John, you're hosting and running with, legal, which Andrew, you're doing legal, I did environmental, what other one did I hang him up with? Finance, we said, community engagement is Randy, and then master planning is Caitlin. So are there any, did I miss any? Okay, so with that said, can I have someone bring a motion forward to nominate this slate of people for vote?
Is that a motion to approve?
Okay, second? Okay, so we can Jackie. All in favor, or discussion? All right, passes, thank you. And then, real quickly, there is an FOI workshop. You received an invitation in the message I sent out. It's closer to Christmas, it's on December 22nd. I encourage members of the board to attend this. We want to make sure we can, especially, we have sort of a challenge because while everything that we do, we want to convey it to the public as best as possible, it's very difficult for us to have public conversation or conversations with privately with stakeholders and still comply with FOI. So we want to make sure we do the right thing. Let's, if we can, attend this meeting. I think it would be beneficial for all. So I just want to endorse that.
It's 2 days before Christmas?
Yeah. Okay, environmental, and we'll move quickly to kind of get to our master planning so we can highlight what VHB has done.
We just want to step back. Is that FOI workshop in this room?
I believe it is. And I think Kathleen Clean sent the image. It was not, she put it together.
Okay.
Anything else on executive before I move forward? Environmental, do you have anything to report?
Just that they're going to be doing their last groundwater sampling coming up the end of November, beginning of December. And that will conclude the testing that needs to get done.
Okay, very good. As we move, anything else, John? Excellent. Finance, anything to report?
The TIF policy went to Board of Finance, and I think it went to Planning and Zoning too. Nope, they had no problems with it. Linda just asked for a PDF copy from Camoin so she can post it on the town website, etc. So it's basically been approved and ready to go.
And just to underscore what you said, I did check on that as well. And I think the only thing that kept her from publishing it is the date on the thing was an effective date before the vote really happened. So we just need to correct the document, but the TIF policy is now available on the town. Excellent. Community engagement. Randy, did you have anything?
I have nothing that was in the paper, so just getting feedback.
The one thing I want to say is we're getting, I have been getting some feedback, so people have been reading the stuff. I wanna tip off to the East Haddam News. They've been very good about accepting, working with me and getting stuff in, and I was really pleased, frankly, to see it was like a front page kind of article, so.
It was a great article, nicely
It
done.
was very, it was
And
very.
people have told me they then saw it, that allowed them to know that they could go in and take the assessment and give us what their feedback was, so. Anything on legal?
No.
All right, so I tried to move quickly, so to be respectful for our time, we're now going to switch over to master planning. We're gonna invite Caitlin to lead with this. You do have a copy of Tommy's agenda here, so I'll let you guys get started and we can move forward. And this will take a fair amount of time on our agenda.
All right, Tommy and Tom, we are ready for you. Unfortunately, I do think we are only going to have audio through my computer, but we can see you and we will be able to see your screen up top. So you won't have visual on us, but we can see the slides that you want to share. So we'll do our best.
All right. Perfect.
And our
No worries.
And are people going to be able to, can everyone hear Tommy when he?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Tom, I'll let you introduce yourself really quick and jump right into it for the data for the market profile.
Yeah, sounds good. Hi, everyone. Tom Doretsky, Director of Research with Camoy Associates. I've met some of you in the past. We were working with VHB on the market analysis side of the downtown analysis. And so I am hoping just to speak a little bit about what we're looking for data-wise when it comes to good speed. And so, we're doing market analysis for the downtown, looking at uses like housing, retail, and lodging, and those sorts of things. And clearly, good speed is the primary driver of visitation to this district. So in order to develop a market study that is grounded in reality, it would be super helpful if we can get data from Goodspeed on their visitor volume, where visitors are coming from, attendance at the different events, all those sorts of things. And, we're happy to provide a list of specific data points if that's helpful, but just wanted to see, whether that is realistic and possible, and, how we can proceed, because that is really a key piece of the analysis. Without that, we're kind of relying on guesses when it comes to, the visitor potential, because that's kind of such a primary driver of spending potential at restaurants and stores and hotels and so forth. So I'll stop there and just kind of curious to hear if you've been able to approach Goodspeed at all, or kind of what we can try to do to move that along.
Caitlin, you have to act as our interpreter because I don't think they can hear us.
Okay.
So
I will be the interpreter.
I'm going to speak first. What I want to tell him is, translated into, no, just don't.
If only I could do that.
What I would like to let him know is, Tommy and I have a meeting next week with the Goodspeed. And we're going to talk about that in more detail later in the meeting about what the meeting is about. But I would like, if I can, have him provide me with a short summary of what it is exactly he needs from them. And if he could send that to me via email, I'll make sure it'll be part of my conversation, because I'm meeting with the entire group there on Wednesday of next week.
Awesome. Tom, could you hear that, or I can interpret?
Yeah,
Yeah,
nope,
you
I
could hear
heard that perfectly.
Oh, you did hear
Yeah,
that?
so
Oh,
I can-
super,
I can
okay.
easily put together a list of data points, kind of the desired data points, and of course, whatever they can provide, we'll take. It doesn't have to be exact, but that should be a good basis.
And also, then would you also please, I realize this is you've asked for this a while ago, and now we're coming to the table in November, so it's kind of an expedited ask. But don't be afraid to say, hey, I need this by whatever date it is, so I can maybe push it along a little.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that sounds great.
Question, yeah, go for it.
So was any of this data used in the analysis that was done for the prior development in downtown? Or in the village?
You recall having the Jeff Riley plan?
I don't believe that they used any data from Goodspeed when they did it. I don't know the details of their market conditions, though. It just kind of presents the findings and not any of the assumptions or caveats. But I think having this data in today's numbers, and I think the level of detail that we'd be asking of Goodspeed, because East Haddam Village Center is such a unique situation, it'll really give a very clear picture of what can actually be supported there by the Opera House and the residents.
Bill, you have to remember that Riley was a member of the board of directors, so he had direct access.
So we didn't have to
Goodspeed.
request it for them.
And that data, even if we did have it, would be like 4 or 5 years old now, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we notify the Goodspeed up front to try and get the much data when you meet with them right up front? They know what.
If I had that information, I might address it, but I don't know.
Get it to them.
Within that week's period of time, I just want to seed it with them to let them know, look, this is part of our collaboration. Because just asking for them for sales data and such may not be in their,
If, you know,
they may not be in
provided
push.
at the upcoming meeting, that's all I'm saying. Speed it up, what's all I'm looking to do? Faster.
So it sounds like, Tom, that might be a list that you have on the ready or almost ready. So maybe if you, I don't know if you're able to send it over to us tomorrow, but if you can, by the end of the week, then Bill has that in hand before the meeting and can see what he can do in terms of quick turnaround from them.
Yep, yeah, I'll send that over tomorrow morning. And we'll have it.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And feel free, you don't have to stick around, but I appreciate you joining. We'll jump into the rest of the agenda items. Thanks again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Next. All right, Caitlin, I am going to attempt to share my screen. I did send you an email with the slides just in case.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, of course, but I'm going to share it. Hopefully folks can see it.
We can see it.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll keep it in this form because it's a fairly informal presentation. It's really just a summary of the 2 public workshop 1 activities and the outputs, notes, and key takeaways from the stakeholder roundtables. And feel free to interject if folks have any questions, if folks can't hear me or if I need to repeat anything. I'd be happy to. So we've got a few slides up front. So what I'm going through now is the summary from the public workshop, both activities, and the stakeholder roundtables. Again, those 3 roundtables. So the overall themes that we're looking at very clearly sort of align with the goals that were established at the outset of this effort. The theme for natural environment with enhanced riverfront access, expanded green spaces, sustainable design, and adaptive reuse of existing spaces, built environment, looking at mixed-use development, walkability, historic preservation, and responsive infrastructure to handle that additional capacity and improve what's there. Mobility and connectivity, pedestrian and bicycle safety, better infrastructure goes in there as well, improved traffic management with the streets and revitalized streetscapes. Community and tourism was another interesting bucket that came up out of all this data. Folks looking for smaller scale retail, local dining options, additional cultural amenities, and some tourism-driven growth to really capitalize on the location of the village center. And then, of course, environmental resilience, flood mitigation, sustainable mobility, and sort of that preservation of village character through that environmental design and your access to the Connecticut River there. So again, these are overall themes, and this is just such a really cool part of what happens after a big public engagement effort is, what you're seeing a lot of is the public also shares the same sentiment that you all share for this site and the village center, which is very exciting to see when that really lines up. some key takeaways where folks sort of overwhelmingly agreed on some topic areas and where folks were a little bit conflicted. So these are things that VHB, when we get into concept planning, will just have to sort of flesh out a little bit more and take into further consideration. Folks generally agreed on mobility and safety improvements at the bare minimum. Pedestrian, bike, and vehicular traffic are universal priorities across the board. A really strong demand for small, diverse shops, restaurants, and cultural spaces, strong waterfront access and green spaces as new vital public assets, and then that sort of mixed-use development and tourism partnerships that would be key for revitalization. What folks were sort of conflicted on, and this is at both ends, is, do we plan for more parking or look into alternative mobility solutions? Could folks park elsewhere, get there by bike or walk if there were safer pedestrian connections or shuttles? Someone even brought up the idea of a water taxi, which was really interesting as well. And then that balancing sort of the vibrant mixed-use development, and if there were more development, what the traffic and safety concerns would come for that, and make sure we're planning for that future development and not just planning for what's there today when we're looking at streetscapes and traffic calming. Mobility and circulation. And then this one, less so of a conflict, but just something to keep in mind, that sort of balance between more open, passive green spaces and open space like a public plaza or a green versus more energetic entertainment environments like a waterfront amphitheater was brought up. Some live music or sort of informal performance venue along the river was also an idea that was brought up. So what's great about this is we've summarized all this. This is from all of the public engagement we've done to date. We have the backup of every single idea and post-it and note that was shared in every list that we will also be sending as an appendix to this slide deck and the final report. So it's all there and fully captured. And then this last slide sort of goes into the early priorities during activity 2 during the public workshop, when we asked them to kind of go into the breakout groups, speak amongst themselves, and put together sort of this list of priorities and vote on it. So really focused on mobility and infrastructure, addressing that pedestrian and bike safety. How can they do that? Improve sidewalks, bike lanes, and traffic management. Developing creative parking solutions, whether it's below grade, using permeable pavers if it's surface parking, and looking into alternative transportation options, especially with the linkages via the bridge and the Connecticut River. From an economic development perspective, again, reinforcing that in a first phase, you're looking at that small scale supportive retail, dining, and tourism focused businesses in the village center, encouraging any mixed use development to also have that housing, lodging component and components and space for community amenities, whether that be green space or physical built space. And then environmental and community enhancements that expanded riverfront access and green spaces, preserving the historic character while updating the infrastructure, and then continuing partnerships and making sure that it's really phased implementation. This can be done in phases. You can act on sort of different portions of the site depending on ownership, and not everything needs to be built out at once. It can be taken out in sort of more bite-sized chunks if it comes to it. So those are sort of the key takeaways, the themes, the priorities that have emerged. That's what we'll start looking into a little bit further with the data. And then we'll take both of those inputs, the actual data analysis that we presented at the first public workshop, and this public input and public feedback, and align it with the goals and the vision and build out the concept plan as the next phase. The survey updates, the survey is still live. As of this morning, we are at 48 survey responses, but the way I like to think about it is we've had just under 50 folks who participated at the first public workshop. So it's about even for the online survey and the workshop. So the results won't skew in one direction or the other. There is still time. Bill, I know you put out another article and publicized the survey as well. So we appreciate that. And then this, the online survey, again, will be sort of folded into the key themes, the priority areas, and the key takeaways, so we can get a really good full picture of that first pass at public engagement before we dive into concept planning. It's set to close on Friday night, midnight, or early Saturday morning. And then public workshop number 2, thinking early 2026, just after the new year, we should be fairly through our concept planning phase, which we will talk about in the next agenda item. But before we get into concept planning, any questions, anything that surprised folks, anything that really stands out?
Tommy, I'll begin with my first question, with the question on the number of respondents. I'm very concerned about a biased message. And so you said we have somewhat equal from attendees versus the amount of people that are responding online. Have the online respondents been included in the themes, or did you do it just based on the work that you did online?
Caitlin, could I ask you to repeat that, please?
Yes. Have you incorporated the feedback from the online survey respondents into the major themes and key takeaways yet? Or are those first couple slides that you presented only reflecting what we heard in the public workshop?
Great question. That is only so far what we've heard in the public workshop and the stakeholder roundtables. That is correct. So what we'll do is, this is sort of that first pass of what we achieved at the in-person engagement. And this slide deck will then be updated to fold in what we hear from the online survey. So all of these things and patterns that emerge, I imagine they may be similar, but we just need to comb through the surveys. But we'll certainly fold that in there, add in any other, edit these key themes or trends based on the online survey once that closes this weekend as well.
And this meeting right now is being broadcast live, correct? So some people watch the meetings, and if you're watching the meeting, I just want to encourage those who have not provided input to go in and do that survey. We have a full day tomorrow. Everybody here perhaps promoted among those that you know, so that we do get a full assessment of opinion in terms of what we really want to see here.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Thank you so much. And that snapshot right there, that QR code will take you right to the survey. It is open for another 24 hours, just about. So that would be great. Anything that can get out on social media so we can get those responses up a little more would be super helpful. Any other questions or comments before we move on to sort of the next agenda item?
I had one question, Tommy. I guess this is a little bit in the weeds, but I'm just curious whether maybe as part of the next round of synthesizing that you're going to do, whether it might be interesting to pull out whether it would, like, if there were any specific points of feedback you received from specific groups of stakeholder roundtable conversations. I feel like that might be an interesting level of detail for us to understand a little bit more about, like, just given the fact that you had some conversations that were specific to the interests of different groups of stakeholders.
Absolutely.
Knowing what those folks said, like a little bit separate from just like general public input might be helpful.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point, Caitlin. And I actually, I didn't want to sort of share too many details, but we did put that together this round. So I will, it is in the slides I sent. So here in the appendix, we kind of go through each of the maps and the activities that were done in the public workshop, and we give you the key themes and key trends by topic and sort of by theme on the map. So instead of just scanning it in and you have sort of this odd looking picture, what we usually do is we digitize it. So these are all color coded. You'll get the aggregated Excel data as well with all of these specific inputs and comments. And so we have it for the natural environment, the built environment, for transportation. And you can sort of see here, it's an interesting pattern. On the natural environment, you have a lot of ideas and you have a lot of this works and we like this. On the built environment, a lot of ideas down around the curve of Norwich Road here in the village center, which is the yellow. And there has been, to no one's surprise, a lot of we don't like this, sort of the transportation, that pinkish red following the curve around the bottom there. And then what we did is for activity 2, we showed the top 3 priorities for each of the 4 groups, the key themes and the key takeaways. So it was interesting to see a lot of these detailed results at a more macro level, which I think is what you were kind of getting at. And each group was a little bit different, but there were some common themes that you can see as you sort of flip through these slides. Again, there's a lot of detail here, so it's tons of information. We could probably spend another hour going through this as well. And then we get into the stakeholder roundtables. So we've broken them out by key themes and key takeaways. The first session, what the town, departments, agencies, and committees were really focused on, what the not-for-profits and community-based organizations were really focused on. And here, I think slides 16, 17, and then 18 with the private businesses and property owners is where you'll really see the most drastic differences just based on those perspectives naturally.
Got it.
So,
Thank you. Yeah, that was exactly what I was wondering about.
Awesome. Perfect. So yeah, I will make sure that you all get these slides and you can go through in greater detail. And so that's sort of the appendix to that high level summary. And then there's sort of an appendix to these slides as well, where it's all that raw data too, if you wanted to get super granular with it, which will all be in a single appendix in the final report.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry to divert you to the appendix.
No, not at all. I love this stuff, and it's all going to be really organized for you and easy to access in this. So this is just sort of a quick snapshot for you.
Awesome.
Well, great. So I have not used Google Meet to share my screen much, so I'm going to stop sharing what I have now and start a new share for the agenda item. Go back to this. So we've gone through the feedback and input from that first round of in-person public engagement. We will incorporate the online survey responses in a final pass to incorporate all of the public engagement that we've received to date. And then going into concept planning, which is sort of our next phase. So we alluded to this when we were kind of going over scope in the beginning. So we are scoped to do 2 concept plans, and each with their own development program, build out 3D visualization and sort of supporting graphics. I think what would be helpful before we really start to dig into these plans is to just kind of take a look at our options from a high level. I'm happy to weigh in on what I think as well, but I ultimately defer to you all. So this first option would be, we'd still have the 2 plans. We'd show the 2 different alternatives for the entire of the site, so all of the parcels. The first option would show what it could look like with the existing road network if no changes were made to the actual curvature of the road and the placement of the road. And the second option would be what it could look like if you were to be able to reconfigure the road network. The second option is one plan showing the entire site, which then folks would need to decide if we wanted to keep existing or reconfigure the road, and one plan showing only the village-owned properties and what you would do with just what you have in control over today. Again, happy to weigh in, but of course, ultimately, defer to you all.
Well, maybe I'll start, and I'm curious what others think. I don't mean to answer a question with a question, but I do think that there is a step, I don't know, maybe a step that we need to go through in order to answer this question, which is to know from the traffic folks on your team, at least at a high level, what the range of options for a reconfigured road network are. I feel like we've been talking about it abstractly for a very long time, but getting actual traffic engineers to actually tell us what the real options are, I feel like is an important step in this design process from our perspective. And I don't know if we know how to answer this, Like it's like a decision tree, and that decision comes first, or that set of information comes first.
Of course. No, that makes total sense. And what we can do is sort of, we can have our traffic guys kind of take a look at a high level of, based on their experience and what's been done in towns of similar size and throughout the state, what they think DOT may approve and sort of support, and what actually might work within that sort of physical constraints of that area as well.
Yeah, I think if there was a better road configuration that was safer and smoother and made more sense in the long run, then option 2 would be great. We'd love to look at what that is, like sort of complete that whole thought, like play that out and see what that means, and compare that then to a second scheme, which only shows the village-owned properties, as you said.
And Caitlin, my interpretation of these options are, option 1 is the whole village area. Option 2 is only the subject matter area that we control. In both instances, they would do reconfigure or use an existing road network. Am I incorrect on that, Tommy?
So that's correct. I think it would still be a helpful exercise to kind of go through what could be done there in a reconfigured road network, but that is correct. So option 1 would be 2 alternatives, one with the existing road for the entire site, and the other with a reconfigured road for the entire site. So the only real difference between option 1 and option 2 is option 2 focuses one alternative on the entire site, and then we can decide if we want to reconfigure, keep the existing road, and then the other alternative under option 2, which you also get under option 2, is just a plan for the village-owned properties. So option 1, you get the entire site, existing roadway and reconfigured roadway. Option 2, you get one with the entire site and one with just the village-owned properties.
And if we took the approach of going to the entire site and had to trim it back for a variety of reasons, then even if we were going with a smaller plan, option 1 would still be the course of action that would get us there.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking the same thing. Isn't then just like maybe a question of phasing, or what order we recommend development of different sites in, or something like that.
Because we're in conversation with stakeholders, right? There's different property owners. So depending on the group of individuals that want to be part of this, it expands, and our area, the area of focus of your surveys and the work that we did in the workshop included the whole area. And I think they'd be disappointed if we just focused on a small area that we only controlled now, when we invited them to comment on the entire area. Any feedback? Let me go around the room though, because I think it's important to get feedback, because it's a critical juncture. Andrew, any thought on this?
The traffic, in my mind, the traffic is really the prime driver, as Caitlin pointed out. But if you were in option 1, wouldn't that realigned street sort of answer that question? I mean, you wouldn't propose something that was impossible or unreasonable.
That's a fair point. I think what we do is we flush out maybe a couple options. What would, just for argument's sake, a rotary look like, or a 5-way intersection? There would still be sort of that optionality that you may have of the reconfigured roadway design. There wouldn't be a half a dozen choices. There may just be, 1 or 2 that would work from an engineering perspective. Amy, I saw you took yourself off mute. Do you want to jump in?
I did. I was going to jump in. So from the beginning, even with the brownfield, and even during our interview, we knew from that standpoint about the traffic and the mobility and, something there, what could be done. So we did approach our traffic folks. We came in with a concept when we were interviewing for this project. And one of the concepts was looking at a 4-way sort of intersection. Since that time, we did talk about roundabout, but I cautioned everybody because, roundabouts is a bad word. It's getting better, but so those were a couple of concepts. Those were the ones that our traffic engineers felt could work. DOT would approve. So what Tommy's saying is that we can go back and sort of formalize those options. And I think really through our discussion previously, there's only like 3 options that could possibly work given the volume of traffic and what would be allowed there. And then I just wanted to add on that second part where Tommy was talking about, hey, we'll just develop a concept for the town-owned properties in the village center as an option, knowing that I'm wanting to help you guys take, at least if you're phasing in those little bite-sized pieces, a concept to get you out to an RFP. So, you know, when you're drilling down on what can actually be done now, your properties that you have ownership and control over is the easiest first phase.
But at the same time,
that was my 2 cents on that.
At the same time, though, isn't that a constriction on us if we make a determination to reconfigure the roads? It's a done deal. And so if we want to expand the vision, we're kind of locked in on the smaller view. I mean, we could always start on the bigger picture and say, all right, that's too expansive. Maybe we need to withdraw. I'm vocalizing and I'm taking Andrew's time right now, but I'm saying that I'm not too sure the value of us spending resources on just configuring the site that we control and not doing the big picture.
Right, I agree with that. And I was going to say, wouldn't the town-owned properties be nested within the total analysis of the conceptual plan? Right, it's already, your concept is going to be in there, and then maybe we just can assign priority or phasing, you know, with the entire parcel in mind. I'd like to see a conceptual layout of everything, and then we have the village-owned properties are nested within that analysis. Is the way that I look at it.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. We need a phase 1 that is actionable without some multi-year process of road reconfiguration. And we need a long-term vision and plan that includes the best possible, you know, traffic situation, including reconfiguring the roads if that's what we determine. We need both of those things, I think.
I see the reminder.
So I don't know whether that's option 1 or option 2. Tommy, I sort of lost track, but.
Jim, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's.
Sorry, no.
I'm going to go around the board. I just want to get the opinion of all the members.
We're talking about 2 concepts. One is one extreme, the other is the other extreme. What about something that's kind of somewhere in the middle where there's improvement of what you have without, because the cost of a total configuration is a lot.
So again, I think, and that's where I think we're losing sight a little bit of what the question is. The question's not which way we go with the roads. Those are going to be an alternative as you suggest. The question is, do we focus any of their resources on developing only the town property right now and not anything in the general area that we're in question? Because option 1 includes a reconfiguration or something something.
I'd rather see a larger picture than if you're going to have a master plan. What's the point of a small picture when you really want to get the overall view of the whole thing? What could it be totally? And then if we have to concentrate on one thing, well, we can do just that. That piece may split into a couple of smaller things. You know?
Okay, good. Randy, your thought?
The road thing is, I think it's critical to this whole project, whatever happens to the road. We've heard some wild ideas, complete changes, crossing through the middle of the town property, which would potentially have adverse effect or impact on what we're trying to do, and maybe cut way back on what we can do. So I don't think we should go crazy with the roads. To Jim's point, and maybe I'm getting off your point, Bill, but I think a drastic change in the road, in my opinion, would be a mistake. It needs improvement.
And I think that's where we're all going to land. So I want to bring us back to the 2 options they're presenting. And in one option, They're talking about looking at the area defined in our redevelopment area. And then the other option is just the town properties. Should we just focus on the bigger master plan first with them working on different road options within it? That's really what the first option is versus the second. Do you see what I mean?
I think so.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable with the bigger option one or option two then?
Well, I guess I'm okay with the larger option because when people came in to give input, they were looking at the whole village, not just the town property.
Yeah, and that was my belief as well. Thank you. Jackie, your thought?
I just think that if we put too much out there, it's overwhelming and cost prohibitive to us to, undertake it. So it's still important for us to keep the primary property as the nucleus or the nest. That's what we came into this project for, was to come up with a solution for that property.
Not for the property, for the red zone.
Okay. So I think having a larger overall plan is important because that's what the public wants to see. And of course, that would reflect how the roads would develop. But I think we have to still keep sight of what the nest portion, how we're going to manage that. And as far as the roads go, that's something beyond my concept. I lose.
And I feel like, I think we all agree that the roads are going to be concerning. And I think we're looking for VHB and their traffic people to come up with some concepts as your.
Yes. Yeah.
John, your thought?
I think we're all, kind of saying the same thing. We want to see that big picture, but we know we kind of really have to focus on the properties that we actually own that's actionable. That's really where I think our focus needs to be, because I think naturally it's going to be a phase. Mm-hmm. So if we are going to go and expand, well, that'll happen over time. If the small piece is successful, then it will expand. So I think the two options that they're right on target.
Which option do you want? One or two, or is it a choice? We have to make a decision.
Well, I was under the impression that they were going to give us both.
No, what they're saying is, confirm the option, the following. You're going to look at option one or option two are two choices we have for the work that you're going, and that's why I'm kind of calling the question on this. And my view on this is, if we take the bigger picture of this, we put our resources into that, we could always cut it back based on all the factors to get it to the nucleus. But if you don't do the underlying view up front, then under option one, and we just do option two, then later on we might try to do things that we can't do because we didn't consider them as part of the bigger picture. He's giving us a choice of which direction VHB wants to head right now. And both will talk about road reconfigurations, each of those options. But one is just only talking about a design of the existing town properties. That's option two. Do you now understand? Because that's the reason why I'm coming around. I want to get buy-in because I think we're leaning toward option one, where they do the bigger picture area and develop the concept, which would include different variations of the road.
I'm kind of on the fence because I want to see both.
Yeah.
I'd like them to spend a little bit of energy giving us the big picture, but our main focus, our responsibility is sites 1 and 7. That's what we own. That's what we have to redevelop. So yeah, I'd like to see a big picture, but I think our focus needs to be on 1 and 7.
Yeah, so I think the clarification in option one, Tommy, is that we want to see the big picture and we want there to be an actionable phase one within that big picture that allows us to move forward with the redevelopment of only the town-owned parcels as part of phase one within that larger redevelopment plan.
So that totally makes sense. I completely agree with you. I was going to wait to weigh in with my 2 cents until the very end and everybody had a chance to speak, but I agree. So what we can do is that overall one with the reconfigured roadway network will show basically what you would do as if you owned all of that property, because the roadway will likely require that. The other one we can do, again, with the overall site, will maintain that existing road network, because if you were most likely to develop a phase one on just that town-owned property, you probably would not be able to reconfigure the road at that time of a phase one. So it would show the site kind of getting built out, phase one being the municipally owned property, and other phases sort of following suit as you were to acquire property. So I kind of agree. I was leaning towards option one myself, but wanted to just present the full picture to you all to make a decision. And I'm thinking, Amy, I'm hoping you can confirm if we show a phase one on just the town-owned properties, that's sort of kind of what you were getting at too, without.
Well, before we finish, I do want to hear from the remaining two agency members on the table too.
Sorry, I know you can't see the room.
Sorry, yeah.
We definitely need a big picture, especially not just road configuration, but even streetscapes, and getting people bike and pedestrian safety is going to be bigger than just the town-owned property. Because if all we're doing is a streetscape in front of the town-owned property, it doesn't make any sense. You need to have people being able to move around throughout the entire downtown area safely, whether on bike or on foot. So I think a big picture, and then, like you said, having a phase one. I think this is all going to be phased over time. That's why we need a big picture, so that we know what we want 25 years out, this to all look like.
I finished.
Yes.
Jeff, please.
Yeah, I think it's the larger master plan of the entire district that's going to determine whether we have to change the road network. And I don't think you can do anything on the town-owned land without understanding how the entire district will drive any future road improvements or changes in the roadways. So I'm a believer that get the big picture set first, and then that tells you what can go on the town land and what kind of road improvements you need.
Tommy, were you able to hear all of that feedback?
I was, yes, I was listening. So if my head is pointed down, I was kind of listening and trying to pick up the sound, but I think I did get it. It sounds like the consensus is option one. And again, apologies not being able to see the room. I didn't know if we were through or not, but I think these are all really great points. And as I mentioned, we can certainly we go with option one. The existing road network, the build out of the site can certainly be phased, acting on the municipal properties first with other phases to follow, and we can clearly show that.
And yeah, and the only other final nuance that I would add is that I think, again, we're looking to you all to help us understand the range of options for roadway configurations in general. And, it's hard, obviously there are going to be scenarios that are orders of magnitude more expensive and less feasible than there might be, but there may also be some very economical and relatively minor adjustments that could be made that would significantly improve the safety and flow of traffic and pedestrian safety, all the things that Tom's talking about. And I think that we just want to understand from you all sort of the broad range of options so that we know how to prioritize a phase one. It's hard to know how to think about phasing and implementation without knowing what the range of options are, I guess.
Absolutely.
Just as an example, if I've heard there's a lot of interest, sorry, I'm a bit under the weather today. There's a lot of interest in some kind of hotel or inn on that land just north of the town-owned property. If that becomes part of a master plan, that will drive any kind of realignment of the road network. So yeah, you can't do it in isolation. You can't look at the road network and the town property in isolation from the bigger picture.
No, absolutely. And I think that's a great segue. I do know we are over time, but I just wanted to cover sort of that gets us right into, discussion and next steps. We already covered 2B with Tom at the outset, but we're going to begin the first phase of concept planning. And what that means for us is taking a look at the road network options and beginning to identify developable areas for each alternative. So as a first step, before we think about building scale and massing and uses, what we can advance is where are we putting the roadways? Where are the new points of entry going to be? How is traffic going to flow in and out of the site from a vehicular, pedestrian, and cyclist perspective? So I think our next meeting of this group, if it still works, is Thursday, December 18th.
No,
before
so
the holiday.
let's pause on, Tom, we don't know the meeting yet, it's coming up on the agenda. We have to talk about that, it may be different, I will bring it up shortly on our agenda.
Okay, so then I will redact that date in particular and just say that our next meeting is likely just roughly about a month from now. And what I would like to do and what we will deliver are a couple of options of a reconfigured road network for the entirety of the site. So we can discuss that at our next meeting, and then we can really move into the nitty-gritty details of concept planning and building placement and starting to see how this all sort of fits together outside of the road network.
That sounds great.
Excellent. Tommy, do you mind sticking around a little longer?
Sure, no problem at all. I am here, I'm free. The baby's in bed, so you can get me all night.
I want to get clarity on when you're joining us next, so I want to make sure you're aware of what that date is in our conversation. Good. Is there anything more on the master planning you want to cover?
I don't think so, Tommy. That was your agenda, right?
Excellent. Yep, that covers it. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So on our side, we will we'll look out for Tom's email with the data points that we're looking for from Goodspeed, and then wait to hear about the outcome.
Can we
of your
get this
meeting
slide,
next week.
presentation you just did?
Sure, yes. Tommy, did you already share these slides with me? Yes, you
I did. What I can do is just clean them up just a little bit, and this way I'll get a better version to you. I just kind of sent that in a pinch just in case I wasn't able to share.
Got it, yeah. Okay, well, if you want to send it to me, I'm happy to forward it to the group after the meeting.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Great job.
Of course.
Next item on our budget is to pay our friends at VHP. We have an invoice. Everybody received a copy. It was for 4665. May I have a motion to approve paying the invoice?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You're getting paid.
I don't have any items on old business. I do want to bring up a couple of items on new business. I'll begin first with our calendar. So you noticed I delivered to you a calendar. I went through and I looked at all the meetings that we can potentially have scheduled for 2027. I'm required to turn this in and have these published in advance. As you know, what we've done in the past and agreed upon was to do 2 meetings per month. Basically, we're looking at the second and fourth Thursday of the month. Is that right? Or did I do first?
Yes.
Yeah, so I looked in, I checked all the dates and lined them up for 2027, and these are the ones. What we have also done, and we'll get to that in a minute, is sometimes we've canceled the meeting and scheduled it as a master planning committee and allowed Caitlin to run with it. So these are the calendar, the scheduled meetings for 2020 for the next year. Does anybody have any questions on these at all, or any problems with any of the dates that I selected? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the calendar for the next year?
I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Now I want to talk about also on new business. I was first introduced, and then I contacted him, a young gentleman in our town who developed a plan. His name is Jack Lovejoy, and he put together a plan of a greenway space down below at the kind of in the area of our concern, and he wanted to present to us. So I indicated to him earlier that he was welcome to come to one of our meetings. Unfortunately, it must have gotten in his spam box, and he found it, and he reconnected with me and said, Bill, I would like to come. So I just want to make you guys aware that I'm going to have him come for one of our meetings, and potentially maybe the next meeting. But I couldn't give him a date, and that's because some of the meeting dates that we have coming up, I just want to clarify. So first and foremost, I'm kind of bouncing at the next meeting, but because I have one more thing I want to talk about under new business, but the meetings are important. The 20th and the 18th right now are scheduled as committee-related meetings. They're not on the agenda as our regular meetings. So they're not there. We have them as committee meetings. we don't have a space assigned yet. The 11th, and I put canceled, and that was a mistake on my part. The 11th is our next regularly scheduled meeting. I am unavailable on the 11th. We can meet without me, but I'm not able to attend. So I was gonna ask if maybe we could go for the 18th instead of the 11th. And then that would give Tommy some time to do his work and then see the initial design. So I just wanna ask the group if there's any problem with rescheduling our next regular meeting, canceling the 11th, canceling the 20th, and we would only have a meeting on the 18th. Is there anybody have any issues with any of that at all?
Sounds like a good idea, giving you more time to.
Tommy, does December 18th work for you as the next meeting?
Yes, as long as it's at 7 p.m., that will work.
Okay, so may I have a motion to cancel the December 11th meeting, our regularly scheduled meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Jeff. Excuse me, Ted, I'm also acting as recording secretary, so. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Great. Next meeting after that, I'd like to make, would somebody entertain a motion to make December 18th our next regularly scheduled meeting?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Okay, good. All right, Tommy, so now you could go back and put that in the date that you, I had actually prepped, I had talked to Tommy earlier to make sure that was gonna throw out, that's why he threw that date out earlier. And we are not meeting on December 20th. That was a committee-related meeting. November 20th, forgive me.
That's next Thursday.
Yes, so that meeting is not posted, and it was just a committee-related meeting. Okay, good. Before I go to anything else on the new business, I do want to discuss a couple of things. I'll call it our approach. As we start getting together and working, and now I think we could all feel this energy. We had a great group of people come to the meeting, and we are starting to see some things formulate. We're getting excited. Two things have happened. One is I've come to realize that it's a challenge on this board because we want to disclose as much as possible to the public to let them know. And at the same time, we're dealing with stakeholders that have certain financial interests, and discussing those interests is not something that's possible to do in the public domain. Hence the reason why we agreed to go into executive session as necessary. So I want to keep the public apprised of some of those initial conversations, or at least maybe we're, not necessarily too much detail of it, but let them know that that's going on. And I also want to be careful because what's happened, and it's happened even to me, is there's like these rumors start getting going. And people are coming up to me and saying, you talked to so-and-so, what's the deal with so-and-so? And I'm thinking, I've had no conversation with those stakeholders. And yet they're wondering how they think the stakeholder got involved. So what I want to do is I want to make an official statement to our community and to our board that what we're going to do is we're going to have conversations, and then we're going to appoint people to speak on our behalf. And those will be the authorized people to do it. It'll be based on the input that not on the executive session, because I know we can't do that, but when we come out, we can make determinations of assigning people to speak on our behalf. And those will be the official messages that come out from this board. That way, we don't create a situation where decisions fall aside the wayside because of the rumors that could potentially happen. I don't want that to happen at all. So I just want to make that clear. Right away is like, as we got through the workshops, people started asking me questions about things that were going on. And I had no idea about some of this stuff. And yet, maybe some of these things could get out of control. So any questions on what I'm saying? All right, with that, let's open the floor for public comment. We have one person in the audience. Would you like to ask any questions or make any observations or comments?
Just like to take and say, I thought your public hearings were great, and I thought your article in the paper was very good, and I think it gave certainly the public a good idea as to what was going on. And so I think, you got a little updated there, and that was helpful. And I also think your conversation that went around the table here, we definitely need the big picture as to what we're going to do, and it has to start with the roads. We can't start designing buildings until you got your roads laid out. And so number one, you've got to lay out that whole road system and agree on that. And then you can go back in place in your buildings. That's the easy part. The road is going to be the tough part. And to figure out what to do with these roads that were, let's face it, they all started off as cart paths out here. And they're shaped that way. And so you need some major improvements in order to make that village work. The Creamery Road doesn't work. Lumberyard Road doesn't work. And you've got to straighten this stuff out now, because you've only got one opportunity ever to straighten these roads out. And you can do it all in phases, but you need the master plan as to what you want to do with it. But I think that it is kind of exciting to see things starting to come along in the village. And from the economic standpoint, we need it badly. Our grand list is not in good shape at all. And we need to take and do something commercially. And, this is the biggest project that we probably got working on. And so I think that, we've got one opportunity. We have to do it right. But I definitely think you got to straighten out these roads and get those roads straightened out, because now is your time. And you'll never have this opportunity again. It's now. And certainly tying good speed into this now's the time to do that too. And I think that they're the key down there. Every time we look at anything down there, Goodspeed's always got another piece of property that's right in the pathway here. So I think that you're having meetings with them and basically at least keep them informed as to where you are and what the options of the town is and how they might be able to participate. And that would be what I'd like to take and see happen, because it's really critical and to do. Thank you for the opportunity.
Are there any other items on new business that anyone on the agency would like to speak about?
Bill, have we contacted the Community Investment Fund? I've just learned about it the last couple of weeks. I'm working on a project up in Bloomfield, and it's grant money that goes directly to towns or nonprofits. And Bloomfield was able to pull about, I want to say, $5 million out of it to help build their new library. And I'm working on an affordable housing project up there, and we're trying to figure out a way to work with the town to get some more community investment fund money. I've got a call tomorrow with the executive director. Her name is Melinda Wilson, and be happy to report back at the next meeting what I learned.
Amy jumped in, and I was going to say the same. I'm working on a community investment fund project as well in Hartford. You have to be on a pre-approved list of eligible municipalities to qualify. I do think, Amy, maybe you know more about this than I do. There may be a way of lobbying to be included in the next year's list or something. I don't know exactly how that works, but
yes, but you have to have certain aspects or demographics in your community. They look for you to be opportunity zone, enterprise zone. You have to meet certain characteristics. We did look at CIF initially with East Haddam, and that was one of the sticking points. Could we petition to get on the list? And it doesn't seem that you have any of those attributes that they look at to get on the list.
But if we have a TIF district, if we have a master plan, maybe that qualifies us.
I would suggest, and you're going to make contact eventually with Victoria, right? Who is
right?
She and Shana have done some work in grant funding for us. She might be the person also to speak with in terms of doing some research on that. Okay, good. So given where we are, we've covered most of the major items. I do now want to go into executive session today. So somebody help me here with the proper motion to get me there.
To discuss.
To discuss conversation with property owners in the area.
Real estate issues.
Real estate issues? Okay.
Can we let the VHB team
Yes,
go?
you got,
Amy and Tommy, I'm gonna end the meeting. Thank you so much for joining. Sorry for our technical difficulties.
No problem at all.
No
Thank you.
worries.
I'll look out for those slides from you, Tommy, and then if we need to have any follow-up before our meeting on the 18th, let me know. We're around.
Absolutely. We'll get them over to you tomorrow and type up next steps as a result of this conversation too. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks all.
so to
Motion that
discuss,
we make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss real estate issues.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now in executive session.